Is your home a healthy home, or is it silently affecting your health? From hidden toxins to airflow, we're going to talk about a lot of things that'll make your home a healthy home. And today I have with me Marilia Pereira, who is a health expert of all sorts. Marilia, thanks for being here with us, and I'm really looking forward to our chat today.
Thank you, Andrew, so much for inviting me to be a part of your podcast. I love talking about all things health and wellness, and it's so amazing because a lot of times we think that we're exposed to a lot more pollutants outside of our home, but sometimes the quality of what's actually indoors can be maybe 5 to 10 times worse, up to 100 times worse of what's outside, and that all comes by being mindful and controlling kind of what we do have in our homes. And we have a lot of control over that, whereas we don't have control over what's outside and in our outdoor environment. So very much as you've heard the old saying, you are not only a product of what you eat, but you're also a product of your environment. So as a registered holistic nutritionist and culinary nutrition expert, as well as a reflexologist, I focus on health and wellness in my practice and helping people to live a longer, healthier lifestyle. And focusing on the home and our environment is very much a key component of, my plan when I work with clients and how I like to guide people, obviously on my socials as well, and helping people to live a healthier lifestyle. And there's so much that we can do in this field.
Absolutely. You're totally right. And, we had a conversation not too long ago, and I didn't realize the fact that your health and your home go hand in hand. And you're so right that the air we breathe, in fact, I think I don't know the statistics on this, but probably about 80% of our time is spent inside our own homes.
That's right. Yeah. And so exactly, Andrew. And so we want to be mindful of really focusing on our indoor air quality, right? Because we work in our homes. Well, some people work in our homes, but also the work environment and where we sleep. Exactly. So we spend at least, I would say, the 16 hours of our day at home at the minimum, right? So we want to be mindful of reducing those toxins that we're exposed to in the home. And okay, the big ones that people think about are kind of mold. That's one that you definitely want to focus on. And, as you work in real estate, one of the things I'm sure that you take your clients through is, looking for those kinds of things or identifying it in your own home once you have moved in and being mindful of what mold looks like, or getting a mold inspector actually to come in, obviously prior to the purchase, and taking a look and doing a test of your home to see if there is mold, where it is, and what can be done about removing it. So obviously there's different levels depending, of course, on the mold exposure in your home of what you would need to do to service your home to make it a little bit cleaner. But investing in a really good quality HEPA filter will help to address some of those mold and other toxins that are in your environment. So a good quality HEPA filter is excellent to invest in your home. And I think it's a considerable part of a home investment as well, in addition to obviously professionally getting the mold removed if it's necessary. And opening up your windows. So, it's the dead of winter, in the middle of a snowstorm here and a blizzard. But I, as much as I can, I always open up the windows every day to just get a little bit of fresh air in, just to kind of help to remove some of that airflow and also help with the moisture and all those kinds of things as part of creating a healthier environment. And, some people say, well, I'll just use some candles, or I'll just use some plugins and things like that. You have to be very careful with that, because that is another opportunity for chemical exposure. And, we see all these fun and trendy commercials that have great music on them, and, telling you to plug in this and light this. But the thing is, a lot of those chemicals contain very harmful carcinogens and endocrine disrupting chemicals. So, using a natural approach to clean your home and your air is always best. So opening the windows, using an air filter, not using any kind of plug-in thing unless it's a plug-in that's made from essential oils. You can get these little plugins that you put in a little pad and you put some essential oils in that and plug that in. That's okay. That's considered all natural. And then you can go with an all natural candle, like a beeswax candle or a soy candle. I always prefer unscented because I'm using it for ambiance. But again, if you're somebody that likes a little bit of scent, try to make sure that whatever you are buying, that it's a candle that you're lighting, is scented with organic or all natural essential oils. You don't want anything in your home that says fragrance. Fragrance can contain up to 700 toxic chemicals in that one ingredient alone. So you want to be mindful of reading your labels, including the labels of everything that you are using in your home, from sprays to candles to plugins. It's extremely important because, again, this is another way to reduce our chemical load in the home.
That's a good point. And as you were speaking, I was reminded many, many years ago now of a client that was very sensitive to those things. Back in the day, we had those plugins, and honestly, they made the place smell worse, in my opinion. You walked into a house, and we had this scent, and immediately the thought was, "What are they trying to cover?"
Exactly.
But anyways, this lady wanted me to call ahead and remove all plugins, all scented anything, and she joked about it. I don't actually remember if I actually did this, but wear a hazmat suit. I did have to go home and shower, remove all scents on my body.
Yeah.
But yeah, just reminded of those plugins back in the day. They were so bad, and they smelled like they were toxic too. I'm sure they were.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? This is such a great point that you bring up, because whenever I walk into a home that has those plugins, first of all, because I live in, I don't have chemical and synthetic chemicals around me or in my home, I'm extremely sensitive. And a lot of people are sensitive to synthetic fragrances and scents. So I will immediately get a headache when I walk into a home that has plugins or anything artificially scented. You pick up on it right away. And because you know what, as we're talking about filters and air quality, our liver is the most important organ in the body, and the liver is actually your body's HEPA filter. So your liver has 541 functions, and its role is to filter out so many things, including pollutions and toxins in blood and hormones and chemicals in the food and everything. So it's constantly working on filtering. And, once you start to eat clean and you start to clean up your lifestyle and everything, you start to become even more sensitive to artificial scents because your body can easily identify. So, sometimes you'll get a headache. Sometimes people will actually get hives. They'll start getting a little bit more flushed, maybe get a little bit of anxiety, and they don't realize they're actually getting anxiety from the chemicals rather than maybe some people in the home. But the chemicals can cause that too, right? And this is all part of those kind of autonomic nervous system reactions as your body is reacting to a toxin, which it feels is dangerous. So these symptoms are warning signs telling you and your body to get out of this environment, to protect yourself. But a lot of times we have a hard time making an association with symptoms which we experience from chemical exposure versus not. And you keep going. You don't realize, well, maybe it's the plug-in, maybe it's your laundry detergent, maybe it's the mold, maybe it's the toxic candle that you're burning that are causing these things, right? So it's super important to obviously identify some of those synthetic things that are in your home that you can remove. And again, being in control of those scents and choosing all natural scents are very, very important. And it keeps everyone in the home healthier, right? Not only you living there, but all your guests, your pets, dogs and animals and cats, super sensitive to artificial scents. They also can get sick. And a lot of people don't understand that their pets are getting sick the whole time they have these toxic products flowing in the home, even though they may not feel anything. And just because you don't feel anything doesn't mean that the exposure is not impacting you, because it is impacting you on a cellular level. And we know, again, that a lot of these have class 1A carcinogens, which are impacting your health and potentially triggering other harmful side effects in your body that you're not aware of at this time, but it will catch up to you in time.
Yeah, absolutely. And you won't hit you. Like, why am I feeling this way? Oh, it's because of that air filter, air freshener we had 20 years ago. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And that's part of what I do with clients in a health intake is I'm like, okay, so tell me about your home. What do you use? What's in your environment? What do you have in your bedroom? What's in your office space? What chemicals do you use? What products? And so when we're going through and trying to clean up all of the chemical toxins and exposure, it can seem overwhelming at first because people don't understand how many toxins they're exposed to. And, On the flip side, for anyone who's using personal care products, cosmetics, we'll say mostly women in this case, their chemical load and toxic load is even higher just because of products that women use if they're not using all natural or organic. So that
makes a lot of sense.
That's something
actually.
I'll talk to you about. But anyways, so that's when we're talking about indoor air quality, because again, perfume, hairspray, anything that's an aerosol, anything that you're spraying or deodorant, those are toxic fumes that everyone, including yourself, is exposed to in the home. It's just like a smoker, right? Again, anyone who's smoking, even secondhand smoke, which is actually a worse exposure than firsthand smoke, is carcinogen. It's a class 1 carcinogen. So again, everyone exposed to smoke from nicotine and cigarettes are also being exposed to all those harmful chemicals. And yet this is another toxin in the home. And, that's why it's very expensive to get your home cleaned from someone who has been living there prior when you're buying a new home, and you have to get the home deodorized from nicotine and cigarettes is very expensive because, if somebody's been in their home for 10, 20 years and they've been smoking indoors, well, that's in everything in that home, right?
Yeah.
Including the ceiling, everywhere. So, these are things to be mindful of, right?
We're lucky we don't come across that too often anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, 20 years ago, we'd show homes and, I always thought we needed a checkbox on our listing. Is this home smoked in or not? Mm-hmm. And over time, just smoking became something that nobody really does inside their home anymore, which is good. But I remember one client, the home was a smokehouse. It was the first and last house that I ever listed that was actively smoked in. Mm-hmm. And so I went and got the house detoxified, had a bunch of stuff in there, and then I had some kind of device that was cleaning the air. And so the day before we were to go live, I went back to visit the house, and I went into the living room where this device was, and the owner was sitting beside the machine, smoking a cigarette and blowing it into the machine. I'm like, oh my God, you just cost yourself $10,000, $20,000 by not smoking outside after we went through all this effort.
Oh my goodness. Exactly.
It's crazy what people do. The other thing that caught my attention when you were speaking, and it makes total sense to me, is that if you're going to diagnose somebody for physical health, take pills or whatever it is that we do, it makes no difference taking those supplements, we'll say, if your house is the thing that's causing you to be sick in the first place.
100%.
I never really thought of it that way.
100%. And that's why, in my practice, it's a holistic approach. We're not only looking at food. Food is a small piece of the pie. We're looking at environmental toxins, environmental factors. We're looking at stress levels. We're looking at, by the way, chemical toxins all create physical stressors in your body, right? So those are stress reactions, and they cause free radical damage. That means that they harm every cell of the body. And then, we're looking at just kind of a whole approach, right? Because like you said, and what about the person exactly who's eating organic, taking the supplements, like you said, but they're not also working on cleaning up their home and reducing the toxic load, right? Or, the client who is using a whole bunch of synthetic makeup and all these products on their body, but, they always go on about eating organic. Well, it's not going to do anything if you're still adding 700 chemicals on your skin on a daily basis, right?
Absolutely.
All of those things. And this is why it's a holistic approach. When we're cleaning up the diet, we clean up the home. We have to clean up all factors of a person's lifestyle, because we have to, target their health issues from different angles, because you don't know which is actually causing the most inflammation, the most stress in the body. That's something I can't tell with all the tests. All I know is, where are the imbalances? Where are the nutritional deficiencies? Let's repair that. And in doing so, we do have to address, the whole picture, because your health is impacted by everything, right? It's not just one thing. And so your environment is absolutely key. So as we're talking about food and all that, we can, kind of switch gears and let's talk about water for a little bit. Because water is the source of our hydration. It is absolutely essential for every single cell of our body. And, a lot of times, I'll get clients coming in and I ask them, so what's the quality of the water that you're drinking? And, okay, well, if they say bottled, that's something to address. But when we're talking about the home specifically, a lot of times people say I'm drinking tap water. I'm like, wow, well, do you know that, again, we live in Guelph, and the city always likes to advertise that we have beautiful, clean water in Guelph and that it's rich in minerals and we have hard water here. But it is hard water. And so there is a lot of harder minerals in that water that causes all the calcification that you see, right? But as a result of that, we also have a lot of chlorine in our water because I can taste it when I have the tap water here. So, we invested in a really good quality filter, a water filter for our home. And you want to get a filter that's going to filter out chlorine, lead, fluoride, and all those kinds of things. But, a lot of time I'll work with people and they say, well, I have a reverse osmosis filter. I'm like, that's great. But do you have a remineralizer added to your reverse osmosis? Because what reverse osmosis does, it filters everything, but it also removes the minerals from the water. And the point of hydration is that we need minerals in water for all of the repair mechanisms in our body. Minerals like magnesium and zinc, and potassium and sulfur. These are all natural occurring minerals that we have to have present in our water to have good electrolyte balance and hydration, all the functions. So when you're using an RO water, a reverse osmosis water, you must have a remineralizer added back in because you need to add the minerals back in. So we want clean water that's highly mineralized, and highly mineralized water will give us a water that has a high pH balance. You're looking for a pH of around 8 with your drinking water, 8.5. That's considered good water alkalinity. You can get pH test strips for your water, or if you have a water company you work with, you can get your home and your water tested for the alkalinity, as well as you can get it tested for whatever chemicals are occurring. We were even using a really good quality kind of hand filter, like one of those jars, not the Brita. We were using Centivia, and we got that tested. I was thinking we were drinking really great water, but it still showed up that we were getting some, even though it's a fantastic filtration system, we were still getting, some, chemicals and toxins coming through. So again, you want to focus on a good quality water filter for that reason of whatever's going to work for you. And, there's different brands that you can look in. I don't know if you want me to get into some brands now. I've kind of mentioned some. But there's quite a few brands out there. Ideally, you're just looking for what's going to filter out the most and what's going to give you a good, clean, alkaline water. And that's why when you buy some even bottled water now or carton water, you'll have, like, some of the companies will list the pH right on the label. But when we're talking about plastic bottled water, that is another environmental factor of toxins, because as we're hearing a lot about, over the last couple of years, microplastics and going plastic free and taking plastic out of your diet and your lifestyle, that's extremely important because plastics, they leach the microplastics into the water. So, when you buy those plastic bottled waters that are so thin that you can easily crush them, right? There's a lot of brands that use them that you can easily crush them. So those plastic bottled waters will leach what's called xenoestrogens and BPA, so bisphenol A. Both are endocrine disruptors. An endocrine disruptor is a class of chemical that disrupts your endocrine system, which is your hormonal system, which can include impact on your thyroid, your adrenal glands, your testes, your ovaries, the uterus, the thymus gland, the pituitary gland, the pineal gland. So we have this whole hormonal connection, and those harmful chemicals really impact that, right? So we want to try to buy everything BPA free and ensuring that it is. And that means avoiding plastics, anything coming in plastic where you're getting that exposure. And, it's interesting, a couple of decades ago, the Canadian government banned the use of BPA in children's baby bottle formulas and children's formula, but they didn't ban it anywhere else. And it's like, well, what about everyone else? And what about when that child gets to be 5 or 10 and become an adult? Then they start switching over to products which contain BPA. And a lot of BPA is also in the lining of anything that's canned tuna, beans, tomato sauce. Anything that's canned will have a lining, and that plastic lining, that coating, contains bisphenol A. Okay, so again, that's a harmful endocrine disruptor. So these are, again, some more environmental things in your home that you can start switching over to. So you can buy organic canned products, and you always want to look at the back of the label to see that it says BPA free or free of BPA lining. It always says something like that, but you're normally buying an organic product at that point. But again, reducing our exposure to plastics is very important, right? And that includes what you store your food in. We're looking at the home, right? So in your refrigerator, you want to try to store food in glass, bamboo, stainless steel, ceramic, okay? Rubber, because rubber is also all natural. So or silicone, like any kind of natural fiber product, and avoid plastic as much as possible. And for sure, do not put any plastic in a microwave because you're really revving up your toxic exposure and exposure to xenoestrogens, which are artificial estrogens, okay? Which are very carcinogen. They are a class 1 carcinogen. So these are carcinogens or cancer-causing agents. So BPA and xenoestrogens and plastics are all part of this cancer-causing agents. And when you think about your lifestyle, it's like, wow, there is plastic in everything, right? There is. So
Absolutely.
It's actually really hard and you have to be mindful of that. So as much as you can, start buying things in like recycled carton, in glass, in stainless steel. And this is why also this movement for eco and sustainability lifestyle, because, okay, well, then you bring your glass, you kind of refill things in paper bags maybe and you're using cloth bags and reusable bags for your shopping and all those kinds of things. And it all adds up and people think it's not going to make a difference. Well, it does, because once you start looking at all your exposure in your day from all the chemical toxins, that's all going inside your system, whether it's ingested through food or it's on your skin, because the skin is the largest organ. And what goes on your skin is the same thing as what goes in your body from what you eat. So we have to treat it the same.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I want to go back to what you said about demineralizer. That's the first time that I've heard that. It does make sense. But what does that look like? Is it a device that goes on your system? Do you have to supply the minerals? Like that's the part that I'm a little bit baffled by.
Yeah, so it's a remineralizer because you want to add the minerals back in. So you're looking for a remineralizer or mineralizing carton. So again, this would involve a water filtration system that's installed underneath your sink, because there's a couple different tanks when you get a really good quality filter installed in your home. So it can either be done on a home level. So it could be something in the basement or whatever. That's some larger tanks that would apply that to all the water in the home, or it can just be for the taps. So wherever you have sinks that you drink water from. So again, depending how many, kitchens or sinks you have in your home, most people just have one main one that they're refilling water from filtered water. But it's a couple of different components. And again, the remineralizer unit will be made of minerals to add so once it's filtered through the RO or UV system, it will then go into the second or third system that will add then the minerals back in once it's been filtered. So it's like a 2 or 3 stage approach, depending on the system that you choose.
Awesome. Thanks for that. What else do we have in our home that we can do? Like a lot of the stuff is common sense, I think. Some of it, like the remineralizer, never thought of that at all. Mm-hmm. What else can we do to make our house a healthy house? That's a bit of a tongue twister, actually.
Yeah, it is. Well, we want to focus on
healthy home.
Yeah, we want to focus. Okay, so let's talk about a cleaner, like cleaning and cleaning products, right? Again, a lot of times we use these cleaning products because they smell good. We think the house is getting cleaner, but sometimes you're actually adding more toxins back in by using harmful chemicals. So you want to avoid synthetic chemicals again with your cleaning products. And you can something that my husband and I, we make our own cleaning products with just white vinegar, the filtered water, and a couple drops of essential oil. I normally like to use tea tree and lemon oil and lavender oil to make my own formula. So you'd use a ratio of, 1 part vinegar to 3 parts water, and then, 12 to 24 drops of essential oils. This is all going to vary by the size of the bottle that you're using. But, that combination, and also using baking soda. Baking soda is also a fantastic cleaner. Baking soda with lemon. Again, there's different applications of how you can use these all natural products, but getting rid of toxic sprays and Windex and all those kinds of different chemicals in your home, again, is going to make a big difference. And it's so easy to make your own all natural cleaners. And then you can be in control of the ingredients you're using for not only yourself, but also your pets and everyone else in the family, right? And then also we're looking at laundry detergent. So I was just walking my dog, and And oh boy, I can always know when somebody's doing their laundry because you cannot help but smell the bounce sheets or the laundry detergent. And again, when you're used to a clean home and you don't use anything scented in your laundry, it's so noticeable. And just me walking outside, passing by homes that have the laundry going, I get sick immediately. And I will be like maybe 10 to 20 feet away and I can smell it. Okay. So laundry detergent has a lot of these carcinogens as well included, as well as BPA, as well as toxic endocrine disruptors. So with laundry detergent, again, because it's going in your clothing and it's on our skin. And like I mentioned before, our skin is our largest organ. So what touches your skin goes into your bloodstream. Okay. And you think of where it's touching as well. I mean, these are, sensitive parts in our body, parts that we have more pores exposure, like our underarms, the lymphatic system under our underarms and the groin. That's where we sweat more. We have open pores there. That means that that's where also the chemicals are going to seep in a little bit better, right? Our backs, anywhere you sweat a lot more, that's where chemicals are going to enter a lot faster. But, overall, it's our skin. So reducing our toxic load by also reducing what kind of detergent you use is significant. And we're looking at people that have eczema, psoriasis, skin rashes, can't sleep very well. Well, is your laundry done and is your linen contain those chemical exposures from your laundry detergent? That's why you can't sleep. I also experience that when I go to hotels and Airbnbs. Sometimes I'll bring my own pillowcase, or I won't use it, or I'll put a towel or my own pajamas or my own t-shirt over the pillow because I cannot inhale those chemicals, right? And that's very important. Instead of bounce dryer sheets and, any other synthetic sheets that you can use all natural wool dryer balls that are going to make your clothing softer, reduce the static, as well as it's unscented. If you do want a little scent, you just take a little essential oil bottle, put a couple drops on the wool dryer ball, and it's going to smell great. Instead of fabric softener, you can use white vinegar, where the fabric softener section is in the carton for your dryer. There's so many all-natural approaches and things that we can do to reduce your toxic load in the laundry room. And, of course, all those agents involved that are significant because these are things that we're exposed to 24/7. Linens, towels, clothing, right? Everything.
Yeah, Adidas switched over to some of those things. We have those wool balls as well.
Oh, good.
It's always
yeah.
funny because we know that there are 5 balls, but oftentimes there's only 2 left. So you got to find the rest of the balls in the
It gets tangled in with your laundry. I know.
Yeah. But yeah, so we're good with that. And then the other thing is, I think, I don't know if I can remember the name or not. I'm going to try. If I get it right, then good. If not, then we'll correct it. I think it's a company called Norwax, maybe. I don't know if that sounds.
Yeah, they're
good.
a multi-level company.
Yeah, they have these cloths.
The microfiber cloths.
So Dita banned me from using Windex on cleaning the mirrors and windows and things like that. And I'm like, what am I supposed to use? And she gave me this cloth that you wipe. And so I do one with a little bit of dampness, and then I finish with a dry one. And oh my God, it is so easy to clean mirrors and anything. It makes it shine beautifully.
Exactly.
And you're just using literally nothing, just a cloth.
That's right. Yeah, that's another option.
Don't know anything about it, but
microfiber cloths are fantastic for that. Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's another option.
One of them has metal in it or something like that. I don't know. It's really good. Does a good job.
Yeah. There's a lot of products out there like that. That again, once you start going to the all natural sections in your natural health food stores and you see all the options, and that's where I would recommend going, is to your all natural food stores, because they're going to have all those selections available for you of whatever is going to work best in your lifestyle. The great thing too about the cloths, those are easy to travel with as well. So again, when you're going to Airbnbs or, long stays, apartment stays, if you're traveling for long periods of time, those are great too, because that's the other thing I do when I travel is I buy those reusable laundry strips. So there's no large plastic container, there's no liquids, they're all natural, and they're just those little laundry strips. And that's actually what I use at home too. And again, they don't have any of those chemicals. And again, those are easy to travel with. So you're then again reducing your exposure to plastics and all that too with something like laundry strips as well. So that's another eco cleaner version of, the big bulky laundry detergents as well.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So we're all about reducing our chemical exposure and toxic exposure there. So we can also talk about maybe some cookware, right? So with cookware, when we're looking at reducing our exposure with our cookware, the best cookware to cook with is stainless steel, ceramic, and you're looking for a Teflon free. You're looking for PFPA free. You're looking for these chemicals, that, Tefal, this brand that, originally came out back in the 80s saying non-stick cookware, it's great, makes your life easier, blah, 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 all those things. However, they contain class 1 carcinogens. So again, you're cooking your food in something that's going to cause cancer right there. So that's another thing that we can also reduce our exposure to. I mentioned before about not putting plastic in a microwave, right? So that's very important too. If you are microwaving, which I do not recommend because you reduce a lot of vitamins and minerals from your food when you're radiating food and microwaving food. But if you are using it, again, also being mindful that you're not using something that's going to add more toxins back into your food, like the plastics and all those. But, so you can reheat food back on a pan in a little pot, which is what I do. I never use a microwave. We don't have it. I tell all my clients to get rid of it and to throw it out or donate it, because it is, again, it really impacts gastrointestinal health. That's another subject. But, this is things that we want to be mindful of. Using ceramic crock pots, really great for keeping food warm and warming things up too, right? So there's lots of different all natural cookware that we can use, and avoiding and cookware including cast iron, which was kind of the old school OG type of cookware that was used for frying, and that's actually the best, and that it's an investment, right? Cast iron cookware will last you forever. It weighs a lot, but it's the best to cook in. The flavors, all those things, it's very easy to clean. It's very low maintenance as well, and that's another healthy solution is anything cast iron. If you have an air fryer, you want to look for air fryers where the racks and everything that your food goes on is stainless steel and not plastic. There's a lot of air fryers there that what you put the food on is actually a plastic. So that's what you want to get rid of as well. Because again, you're increasing your exposure to microplastic. And also aluminum foil, right? Everyone, I can remember growing up back in the day, everything was reheated in aluminum foil, wrapped in aluminum foil. Aluminum is a heavy metal. It's a very toxic heavy metal linked to a lot of brain diseases like Alzheimer's and dementia, in addition to creating a lot of inflammation in the brain and the body. So aluminum is something you do not want to cookware. So you also do not want aluminum cookware and aluminum foil. If you happen to use aluminum and you must use it for traveling or whatever it is, I would always recommend using a organic unbleached parchment paper around the food first, and then you can use the aluminum foil over that, so that the aluminum foil is not touching the food. It's actually touching the parchment paper first, and the parchment paper is what's touching the food, right? So that's another healthier alternative. Some people use paper towels. Parchment paper is a little bit better. So that's another kind of like little hack there. But as much as possible, not using aluminum is also another way to, again, reduce your exposure to that heavy metal. Mm-hmm. So there's lots of, all these toxic, there's so many things to look into, but these are ways that we can easily clean up our home.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, and never thought of that. Baked potatoes, wrap them in aluminum.
Yeah, barbecue time, everyone wraps everything in aluminum, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, I'm thinking, when was the last time I actually bought aluminum foil? That thing lasts forever. Mm-hmm. It's like an endless, and you're not going to like this, but plastic wrap. I think we have one from 15 years ago at least. I don't think we've ever replaced it.
Yeah.
I guess we either don't use a lot of plastic or it just has an endless roll to it or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And, it's one of those things that we're so used to using. And, we're talking about, okay, replacing it, people are like, oh my goodness, this is so many things. I have to change my lifestyle. I'm like, yeah, because they shouldn't have been sold to us to begin with. If, our health agencies were actually being mindful and consulting experts in health to evaluate the toxic load of these products in our environment, which we now have to focus on removing and educating people on removing, and going back to, I always say this, right? This is what's funny about natural health and holistic health. We're just going back to doing things the way we did 300 years ago.
100%.
Food back then was all organic. Over 150 years ago, everything was organic. We didn't use plastics. Everything was in jars. We brought our own bags everywhere. There was no plastic bags everywhere. So, all these things were designed for convenience and use and saving time. But what it's caused is a lot of health ailments and disease and illness and chronic disease as a result. So is it better to develop healthier habits and go back to the way things used to be? Yes. Rather than convenience, right? All these things, like let's focus on convenience with other things rather than what we ingest and put in our skin and our environment, right?
Absolutely. That's pretty ironic that we invented those things to save time.
Exactly.
And it's actually cost us time.
Yeah.
In some cases, a lot of time if you leave this earth early.
Yeah. And I mean, we can only control what we can control in our home environment. We can't control what's out there. We live in Guelph, Aramosa, Wellington County, surrounding communities. We are exposed. There's a lot of farms where we live in this area. And, when we look at what's used in our environment, there's chemtrails, there's pesticides and herbicides that are sprayed all the time on those farms that, I'm talking about conventional farms. And you look at what, people are exposed to in those neighborhoods, in those areas, certain times of the year when I want to do a beautiful countryside drive and I'm driving on these country roads and I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't breathe. And I have to, basically plug my nose for about 10 minutes until I pass a certain farm or an area, because I know that those chemicals that they've sprayed are not natural if they're causing this adverse immediate reaction in my body.
Yeah.
And, they're not natural. And, my mother grew up on a farm and I said, oh yeah, they're just putting manure down for the, this crop. She goes, really? My mom, that is not natural. Those scents are not natural. I grew up on a farm. That's not natural. And I know, Mom, you're right. That's exactly it. And, when you assess your environment and where you live around, right? Not only conventional farms that use toxic sprays and products, which we have to protect ourselves from, but also, is your home around electrical towers? Is your home around a whole bunch of 5G towers? And we're going to be getting to 6G and all that. This is harmful radiation. And, that brings me to the next topic. We're looking at reducing our environmental toxins and exposure to EMFs, which are electromagnetic frequency exposure and radiation. So, I remember being in nutrition school and learning about, there should be no home within 5 to 10 kilometers of these huge electrical towers, of 5G towers. And now I look around and they're everywhere. And my heart breaks when I look at condos and apartments that have sold their rooftop real estate to tech companies and they have 5G towers all over the roof. I'm like, my clients, if you live there, move. Move, or you have to heavily invest in taking a very preventative and proactive approach to having a anti-inflammatory diet and a very clean lifestyle, and adding in some supplements, because food alone will not protect you from that kind of radiation. You have to supplement with supplements like quercetin, vitamin C, zinc. You need all these essential nutrients that are going to boost your immunity if you're exposed to that kind of EMF that is super toxic. Imagine you're living under a 5G tower. All those people that are living in those buildings are exposed to so much harmful EMF exposure. So, one of the things I do with my clients is tell me about your environment. Where do you live? Are you around a farm? Are you around a conventional farm? Are electrical towers, 5G towers? What is your workplace? If you're working and you're at work for, 8 to 12 hours, what are you around at work? Are you around a whole bunch of Wi-Fi and screens and all these things? So there's so many things that we can do with EMF protective devices, stickers for your phones and your laptops, necklaces that you can wear that are EMF blockers. There's a lot of EMF blocker devices you can purchase on Amazon and do your research on. But that's also something I recommend to my clients, because our glands, like again, our thyroid gland, adrenal glands, ovaries, testes, when you think about the big cancers, right? Those are kind of some of the big cancers you hear about: thyroid cancer and prostate cancer, breast cancer. The glands are very, very sensitive to EMF exposure and radiation. So it is important that we protect ourselves. Things like turning your router off, making sure your router and your major Wi-Fi ports in the home are not close to your bedroom or close to where you work. because again, you're going to be more exposed to that. Having devices in your home that are going to reduce that exposure, like Himalayan salt lamps, selenite lamps, black tourmaline. These are kind of gem crystals I'm listing right now. And then there's special blocks by different companies that, again, will help to reduce the radiation and EMF exposure in your home to create a healthier home. Because a lot of times people, again, will live in a home that maybe they're sensitive to EMF exposure and they have constant headaches and migraines. They're not sleeping well, and it could be due to EMF frequencies.
It's interesting. As you're speaking, my brain was going through my house room by room. Okay, what about this room? What about that room?
That's the idea. I hope all your listeners and viewers are also doing a mental check. It's like, oh, wow, this list is getting longer. And that's exactly it. And I'm not here to be the bearer of bad news. I am here to help you with your health and, give your viewers and listeners insight into just making some small changes where you can. And this doesn't start in one shot. It's, for me personally, it started with my cosmetics first when I was in nutrition school. And I learned about, just how many chemicals women were exposed to when they leave their door just from personal use. Okay, that's where it started for me. And then immediately it was the home. It was getting rid of the synthetic cleaning products, the sprays, all of that, the candles. I got rid of all of that. And then it was my laundry. I got rid of all of that. So essentially, once everything starts to finish in your home, don't repurchase that toxic product again. Go for an all-natural organic one. That's, again, chemical-free.
Totally.
That way you don't feel like you're wasting your money, but again, you're making a better, wiser decision for not only yourself, but your family and everyone else in your environment, right?
Quick question for you. Well, we're on this topic. You can't see it. It's off camera. To my left is an electrical panel. Mm-hmm. So I moved my office to the basement of our house and to this little background and stuff like that for podcasts like this.
Right.
But I covered it over with a cabinet because I was mindful of things like EMF. Mm-hmm. I have an EMF tester that I had for when we used to ghost hunt. and I went up to it and it was not bad at all. It was very, very minimal. I put it up to my screen and oh my God, it went up quite high. Mm-hmm. And it was just an interesting fact that a lot of us don't even think about our screens of our computers and things like that. Here I am,
tablets and
electrical panel, and it turned out to not really be much.
Mm-hmm.
Occasionally it'll go up a little bit, I guess, maybe if we're using more electricity or something, I don't know, but it's still not as much as what my screen is.
That's right. And that's why I mentioned before about buying EMF blocking stickers. You can Google it or check on Amazon, and you can put like a couple, maybe 2 stickers on your laptop, 1 or 2 stickers on your phone, a couple stickers on a tablet. So just depending the size, and again, on each device that you have, because you are being exposed to that EMF from every single screen you're exposed to. And again, most, for people who are working in front of a screen all day, I'm on my phone half the time, working on my phone. I have a sticker there and on my laptop too. And we have a couple on our router. So I actually put it on the router as well. So you just, start to be mindful of like, okay, so what am I exposed to during the day? And what can I put as an EMF blocking sticker or device in those areas, right? To, again, like you said, help to reduce that exposure. And that's a good one. A lot of people, and especially also for children and babies, right, that are on little devices and tablets, their systems are even more sensitive than ours are. And so, again, if you want to think about, how you're raising your child and what they're exposed to, and we think about the rate of cancers that are, I talk about this all the time. Like, I work with so many clients that, I'm seeing clients that are in their 30s and 40s with cancer and dying at that age. And we shouldn't be dying at age 30 and 40 or younger, children as well, from cancers. But we're looking at all these different exposures. Well, once you go through this list that I've been talking about, you see how it just gets piled on, right?
Absolutely.
That's called your toxic load. And once your barrel reaches its top, it starts to overflow. And that's when all these reactions happen. All these allergies and disease and symptoms and fatigue and all those things start to add up. And it's just that chemical load.
Absolutely. And you referenced this a little bit before, and you referenced it, 100 years ago, but even 50 years ago when I was a young kid, well, 50 years ago, I'd be a baby, but we didn't seem to have as many allergies or things like that. And the only consistency is that we've added more chemicals to the products that we use, and there's more technology, more EMFs and all this type of stuff. And most of us are really not aware of all these things that are going on. We're just, living our lives, and, one day we'll die. But I wonder if it would be ever possible to measure the impact of these things on society rather than being too late. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe 50 years from now, they'll have a study. Oh, back in the 2000s, they came up with this study that showed that more people died of cancer because of our cell phones.
Yeah. And there are studies that have been done, and there are studies being done right now, and we are getting this information. But again, you just look at the rate of everything, right? Cancer, autism, allergies, ADHD, all these things are all results of chemical exposures.
Absolutely.
And the thing is that everyone's body is so unique, right? You may or may not be impacted. This is why you hear of smokers and, people who drink alcohol all day long, and they can live till 80 years old, 90 years old. And then you have someone who, because they maybe live close to a farm or are exposed to some chemicals in their food, they're getting cancer at age 16, 18, 20 years old. Everyone is so unique. So all we can do is try to control what we are exposed to and reduce it, because we don't know. There are genetic factors, although genetics only account for about 20 to 30%. The rest is what we call epigenetics. That's the power of using your diet and lifestyle to help reduce and mitigate your exposure to disease and illness by the way you live and the way you eat, right? And there's a lot of power in that. And we know because there's been so many studies done on identical twins that had, the same DNA, where one was living a standard American lifestyle, so the SAD diet and a SAD diet and lifestyle, and one was more living on the countryside, organic farming, organic food, etc. Identical twins. There's been lots of studies done on this, and they are completely different people 20 to 30 years later, and one has a whole bunch of disease and illness and the other one doesn't. This is identical DNA, and that's how we know, and that's what we know about the power of epigenetics, is that, by your diet and lifestyle, you can turn off genes and your gene expression, which can potentially trigger those harmful genes to activate, which can be the cancer-causing genes, etc. But it is due to diet and lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes you can get it early enough and fix the problem, and sometimes, unfortunately, we need other interventions to also help to address those health issues. But the idea is to live a preventative, healthier lifestyle so that you can have a healthier long-term lifestyle.
Yeah,
and we can do that.
Like you said before, is we can control our homes, right? So we can
absolutely
use those stickers that you talked about as an example. And maybe I'll put a link at the bottom where some people can get those. Mm-hmm. But, some things we can help. We can't help it when we leave our home, what we're exposed to. So if you're spending 80% of your time in your house, try and eliminate some of these things, or, do something a little bit different. Doesn't seem like a really big effort to do any of these things so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's why I said just start off with, once something finishes, your laundry detergent or that candle or the cosmetics or the skincare, start, am I going to buy this again? Because now I know what this is doing to me. And there's a really good resource I'll share too, also in the show notes, which is ewg.org. It's a fantastic resource. I recommend everyone take a look, because you can actually research any product that you have in your home, and it grades the product of how clean it is, including food, snacks, cleaning products, cosmetics, personal care products. And, that's also the company that every year they release kind of the Dirty Dozen Clean 15 of best foods to buy organic, best foods to buy conventional because of their exposure to harmful chemicals. But it's a really great resource, and you can also have it as an app on your phone. So when you're shopping, you can scan products and you'll see the rating, and you'll see again, oh wow, I thought I was using a cleaner product. Because you also have to be mindful. There's a lot of greenwashing out there, because health and wellness and clean and all this has become such a $1 trillion industry. There's a lot of greenwashing. So it is very important to read your labels, understand the chemicals, and ewg.org is a very good resource for everyone if you're just getting started on this journey, or just want to learn a little bit more about what these chemicals are. You can subscribe. They send you emails all the time on updates and glyphosate and all these different chemicals in our environment. So that's a really great resource too that we'll share for your viewers.
don't know if it's the same app or not, but I have one that Dita recommended to me on my phone, and you can scan the barcode just like you said. So I was visiting a client who is a food scientist, and I won't name the company, but we scanned a couple of the products that they designed there. And we scanned a couple that we thought would be somewhat healthy. It's not a healthy company, it's more of a snack company. And we were surprised that some of them are rated a 0 out of 100. And then one of them was actually rated something like a 80 or 90 out of 100, which really surprised me as well. I didn't expect that as well. But yeah, we just had a lot of fun. And she goes, yeah, I know some of these things are not good, because of X, Y, or Z. And we're changing, some product or ingredients in our products. And some of them were just changing simply because of the name, that people have a negative connotation to certain names of things. So, that particular, we'll call it a chemical, may not be necessarily completely bad for you, but it has a bad name. So they're going to change it to something else, right? And then other ones they completely eliminate. Oh, yeah, that's not good.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a whole nother conversation, Andrew, because you're getting into like food politics, and we know that our food system is heavily lobbied by, pharmaceutical companies and big agriculture. And they do get a little bit sneaky and cheeky sometimes, because they do start to change the names as they know people are becoming more educated. So for example, like MSG, high fructose corn syrup, there is about 50 to 75 different names for those two toxic ingredients alone. Okay. There's a lot of different names, just for like, again, different vegetable oils and seed oils and all of that. Lots of different names there. So, you do have to do your research and, again, understand labels. And to make things easy is why I really appreciate websites like ewg.org, because, again, you can be researching chemicals all day, because there's hundreds of thousands of chemicals in our environment that we're exposed to, right? But yeah, different apps like that definitely make it easier for you to navigate, so that, okay, scan something, okay, that's something you want to buy or not. And you just make better, healthier choices for yourself. So yeah, I do highly recommend that as well.
It's fun to scan for sure.
Yeah. You kind of think like you're creating a registry, but you're actually focusing on your health.
Yeah, exactly. What else do you got for us? I know there's a couple more things you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I want to talk to you also about, sleep hygiene, and let's talk about our sleep environment and creating a really good, bedroom environment to help promote good quality sleep, deeper sleep as well. Things like reducing as many, again, electrical devices from the room, TVs, laptops, try not to have any of those in your room. I know I've told people, even myself, like, try to not have the cell phone in your room. And if it is, make it as far away from you as possible, or in another room. That's also another great recommendation. You just don't want to sleep with the cell phone beside your head, right? And if you think about it, just depending on your phone, but, for example, with different phones that I have here, there's the manufacturing warning on the label itself with every box that it's coming, that you can't have your cell phone beside you. It's got to be at least 2 inches away. And that's just while speaking to it, because, again, of the EMF and radiation exposure from your phone to your ear, which is right beside your brain and all those sensitive cells in your brain. And that's why it's also recommended not to use wireless products, and to limit the use of wireless products, especially wireless products that are in your ear. That's why you see I have a wired mic on. I'm not using something wireless right now. But that's really important, again, because these are all EMF exposure again. But when we're looking at our sleep environments, we want to get rid of those devices. And then you can use soothing light and warm lighting in your bedroom that are going to help to promote deeper sleep and support melatonin production. So melatonin is our sleep hormone. It kicks in as we approach sunset. So obviously this is going to change different times of the year. So warm lighting is very good for your health. The lighting from Himalayan salt lamps, those are all really good lamps and different elements that you can use. Like Himalayan salt lamps emit negative ions, so it actually helps to reduce the positive ions in your environment. And the positive ions are the environmental factors, again, that increase kind of that more harmful, stressful load in your body. So negative ions really help to reduce that. So Himalayan salt lamps are great to have around as lighting in your bedroom, and try not to have that white, bright lighting in your bedroom. Sleeping, essentially, we're trying to be like animals, and we're trying to create a cave in our bedroom environment. So quiet, dark, no chemicals, no electronics, right? And some of my clients have a hard time with this when I tell them to remove the TV from their bedroom, because they shouldn't have a TV in their bedroom. They shouldn't have a computer in their bedroom. And I know that's harder for some people. Again, we're limited by space, right? Sometimes in the person who lives in a studio apartment or a studio condo, well, everything's in one space. It's not possible, but they can put it in a different part, at least like 10 feet away from them, let's say, hopefully. That would even be better to, again, keep it as far away from them as they can. So those are just different things that we can do. And even when we're looking at our bedding, we want to use natural fibers. There's so many different bed companies now with mattresses where you can buy like all wool fiber mattresses, or all natural fiber bedding, like 100% cotton flannel, wool. These are kind of fibers as well, because again, anything polyester, rayon, nylon, those are all plastic, right? Also our clothing. But we're just talking about sleep here. So with your sleep too, right? You really want to be mindful of, that 100% cotton sheets, everything cotton that you're sleeping on. And again, in your bed, because we know, as you know as well, like when you're showing a home, if new carpet has been installed or there's new area rugs and you smell that toxin, that's formaldehyde, right? And they also use formaldehyde in mattresses. They use formaldehyde in carpets and area rugs. So, if you are buying those products, you always want to air it out in a different space before actually putting it in your room. But otherwise, I'd recommend not using those. But again, and that's why also they push towards buying things pre-used or pre-loved or whatever you want to call it. Because if you're buying a used rug or used furniture and it's something with cushion in it, that it's already aired out from years ago. So your home is not going to be exposed to that off-gassing of formaldehyde like when you get something new. It's funny whenever I hear somebody saying, oh, I love the new smell. Like you go into a brand new car and you're going to unwrapping a brand new sofa or whatever. I'm like, you like that smell? That is formaldehyde. You need to do that outside. When people are buying a new car, I'm like, leave your windows open for a month, cracked open outside. On your windows, the back windows or whatever it is, and let it gas, off gas, because you're exposed to those chemicals in your car, which is formaldehyde, another, cancer causing agent. So again, this is what are furniture pieces and things that are home off gassing. And a lot of them are, again, these toxic agents and formaldehydes and different agents that impact our endocrine health and our endocrine system as well, in addition to other areas of health.
That's a lot of people don't consider that when they're buying furniture, right? We always want the new stuff, and I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with that, but you can make choices with new furniture that are better than others. And then oftentimes there are used furniture that you can get that not only are you helping the environment, but you're helping, if you go to places like Habitat for Humanity, you're helping build homes in an affordable way as well.
100%.
And then some of those pieces are really neat. And I saw it actually this morning just on YouTube as I picked up my phone that was beside my bed. not supposed to do that. And the first thing that came up was this guy who lived in this house. And it wasn't about the furniture, but he mentioned that every single piece of furniture in his house was used somehow. And he refurbished it or made it look different or whatever. And it was beautiful. You would never tell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's handy when you have a carpenter in the family or somebody that has that skill set that can easily repair and restore furniture. Absolutely. And, our home is a combination of new and used furniture. We do have a lot of reused furniture in our home and get a lot of it off the street too. We have wonderful neighbors that are always putting furniture out there. I'm like, yeah, I'm taking that. And sometimes I'll just do a fresh coat of paint on it. When I'm using paint, I'm using zero VOC paint. So again, less toxic paint as well. And you can also, for your home too, I do recommend buying zero VOC paint for your home too. But when you're repainting things, varnishes, all those kinds of things, again, this is part of the thinking about the exposure of chemicals. I just got a new area rug for the basement because I'm creating a secondary location in my basement for my practice. And I got the rug delivered about 5 days ago, and I'm still in the middle of the renovations downstairs. But right away, I unwrapped the carpet. The carpet is made out of jute or sisal, which are all natural fibers. So still beautiful natural fibers. But, at the distribution center, they wrap everything up in a plastic. So I've already taken it off right away, and it's currently off gassing in the basement and tucked away in the corner. And I open the windows once in a while there too, so that, again, it's not smelling. Even though it's an all natural fiber, just the process of packaging, right? The packaging process can add those chemicals that you're exposed to. So it wasn't too bad because it is an all natural one, but still, this is what I mean. It's just planning, right? You just have to think about these things and plan accordingly. And it's just a part of changing some of those daily lifestyle habits. It's just okay, when you buy a new car, keep the windows open. If you're buying something used and you're repainting, be mindful of the paint that you're using. Paint outside, don't do it in your home. Those kinds of things, right? This is all trying to mitigate our exposure and reduce our exposure to harmful chemicals. And that's part of it.
Absolutely. What else do you got cooking? We got a little bit more time if you have some more.
Yeah, I have some more.
I have the whole giant list.
Yeah.
What are we'll just kind of break it down here a little bit. If you have two more essential points, I don't know if you can.
I do have two more essential. So we're talking about then bringing the nature indoors. So I just mentioned right now with my new clinic space I'm opening in my home, I just ordered a jute and sisal area rug. Those are natural fibers. So as much as you can buy things that are natural fibers, made from wood, made from wool, made from jute or sisal, bamboo, rubber, all natural fibers, again, are going to be healthier for you and your home and everyone there, because again, you're not getting the exposure to microplastics or toxic agents. So look for that kind of furniture as well. Anything cotton cushions, wool area rugs, combination wool and cotton area rugs, those kinds of things we want to be mindful of, and getting rid of the synthetic, kind of rayon, polyester stuff as much as we can. Obviously open up the windows. Plants. So plants are such a wonderful way to clean your environment. And there's plants like the spider plant, aloe vera, beautiful monstera. They have the beautiful big leaves. These are all plants that help to clean the air. So we can use plants as an additional tool in our home to clean the air, in addition to the Himalayan salt lamps, in addition to the air purifiers, right? Because plants like spider plants can clean the air up to 97%. And we forget that plants are actually, just like when we go outside and we feel so great in nature doing a forest walk. I do that every morning with my dog. And plants release so many good, feel-good chemicals to help, again, clean our air and also make us feel good and improve our mood and uplift us. So that's another way that we can use nature and bring nature indoors and create a healthier environment, right? And then for scents, you want to use essential oils in your air diffusers, in the candles. Some people have a humidifier where they're able to add essential oils in as well. You have to check the humidifier because they're not all designed that way, but you can also add a little bit of essential oils to your humidifier. Humidifiers are also wonderful, especially again, this dry winter air that makes your skin so dry and your scalp dry and everything so dry. Adding a humidifier is also a wonderful way to support, again, a nice, healthier home environment. It's good for yourself, your skin, your plants, your dogs, your pets, everything. So that's also really wonderful too. And then you want to try to reduce some of the clutter in your home, right? Cleaning, right? I started off talking about cleaning products, but dusting and, cleaning so that, sometimes if you don't get to a certain corner and you don't clean something for a long period of time, well, maybe there was moisture there and it's starting to develop mold. So this is really important, why we have to clean and get rid of some of those pollutants in our home so that things are not building up in corners and creating more toxins, right? So decluttering, getting rid of just things that are stacked up and piled up, going through that. And sometimes as part of the decluttering process, you end up finding a hidden gem from 15, 20 years ago or whatever it is, something that was given to you. You're like, okay, you can repurpose it or get rid of it. Like you said before, like donating things to Habitat for Humanity or another charity organization, or, reselling it on Facebook Marketplace, whatever you want to do. that's another way to repurpose things from your home that you no longer need, decluttering it. And again, creating a cleaner environment and cleaner space and more space in your home, right? We know that more space is wonderful for keeping a home environment clean. And as you know, with reselling, it adds value to your home. The less you have in your home, the more value it provides to the space, right?
Yeah. And you can tell when you walk into a house that is filled with furniture and just stuff, all that stuff collects smells, and you have toxins that build up, mold in places. A lot of people will stuff in a corner, and then you remove that stuff, and then there's mold on the wall.
Absolutely.
And you don't even consider that.
Yeah. And if you're not cleaning that area, or sometimes like maybe in your kitchen or somewhere in your home where you have tiles, you realize that there's water seeping in underneath, and you can potentially be having water damage in different parts of your home, right? That's also another. So mold and water damage are big ones that can easily get missed, again, if you're not cleaning properly or decluttering areas of your home that haven't had much attention in. So that's another reason also to focus on doing that for your home and decluttering. Mm-hmm.
That is fantastic. Marilia, I really enjoyed our talk. I'm sure we can have a million more things to talk about. So just before we go, can you just kind of reiterate what it is that you do? So in case any of our guests want to connect with you on health, whether it's related to the home or your body, how can they reach you, and what is exactly would that look like for them?
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Andrew. And thank you again for having me on your show, on your podcast. So I'm a registered holistic nutritionist and a health coach, a reflexologist. So I work one-to-one with clients, providing holistic one-to-one services, creating nutrition plans. But like I mentioned, as we've been talking, this nutrition wellness plan is not only about food, it's about your whole lifestyle that, I'm assessing, because the idea is to help you live healthier and address your health goals, whether it's hormones or digestive health or sleep or energy, low energy, back pain, whatever it is. And we look at different factors, and using a holistic approach, I always get to the root cause of the issue. And that's why I do have to consider food and your environment, because I have to identify where is the stress in your body coming from that's breaking down your health. So I do that with my nutritional consulting, the one-to-one coaching, and then for supporting stress and relaxation and some other physical things, I also offer foot reflexology. And I teach some classes. I do some online courses as well. And you can find me on socials, because I'm always sharing information on health and wellness and delicious recipes and how to use food as medicine to help your body heal on my socials. So on Instagram and TikTok, it's at Flourish with Marilia. So FLEURISH with Marilia, MARILIA. We'll link it in the show notes. And my website is flourishwithmarilia.com. So you can certainly connect with me there. I do offer complimentary 15-minute health discovery appointments. So if you're not sure if this is something for you, if you want to talk a little bit, maybe before setting up an appointment, I do offer the 15-minute free health discovery calls as an opportunity for us to connect to make sure that we're also a good fit for each other. So yeah, lots of different ways. On Facebook, it's Flourish Nutrition. So different ways that you can connect with me there. So yeah, I look forward to working with you and connecting with you if you want some one-to-one guidance there.
Excellent. Thanks again, Marilia, for giving us your insight as to what it takes to have a healthy home. And I'm sure that anyone that's watched this will be able to take at least one or two of these things and be a little bit closer to having a healthy home.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Andrew. Take care.
You as well.